Today on the Let's Be Real podcast, we're going to be covering the tragic passing of Matthew Perry, the Marvel's box office projections, the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes trailer, the new Inside Out emotions for the sequel, the Fall Guy trailer, HBO using fake Twitter accounts to reply to negative reviews. We're going to be discussing if the golden age of Marvel is behind us. We'll also be talking about that new Echo trailer that dropped recently. And for our grand finale, we're going to be finishing off with a quick fire round of questions. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Let's Be Real. I'm your host, James, and I have the privilege and honor to be joined by Kai and Nayan. How are we doing, boys?
Good.
Good?
Very good.
Good.
I was confused. I was like, did you even say Kai's name?
I think it's Kai, Nay.
Kaine. Yeah.
Kai, Nay.
Yeah.
That's
Something like that.
Combining your names together.
Yeah.
How are we doing? Good?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah, pretty good.
Nice. We watching anything interesting lately?
Started up with Invincible, the new season just released.
Oh, yeah. Is it just the whole season?
No, it's
just-
episode by episode.
Oh, right.
yeah. And they're short episodes as well, so it's kind of...
Wasn't the first season like long episodes, like 45 minutes?
Yeah, kind of. I think it kind of depended on the episode. Like the first one and the last one were quite long.
Right.
But yeah. I think it was something like 30 minutes or 40 minutes or something. It wasn't
Okay.
too long.
Yeah.
But,
How was the first one?
It was good. It was good. It was setting up a whole bunch of stuff, really. It's all about setups, really,
nice.
this season. This episode.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, we'll see. Yeah, I'm excited for it, though.
Nice. Yeah, I got to watch the first season. It's on my watch list. I'll probably be watching over the next week or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Nan? Anything new? Anything interesting?
Nah, sports is now over, so have to wait until March.
Yeah. Yeah.
We will not discuss last weekend.
When last weekend? Was it the Rugby World Cup final?
Yep.
We haven't done a podcast since then, eh?
No.
No. Oh, yeah. New Zealand didn't win, guys. So that's why Nate doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, let's not.
Yeah, we won't go there. All right. So before we dive into the action, we want to hear from you guys. Slide into our DMs on Twitter or X, and any suggestions or topics you'd like us to cover, it might just make it onto our show. And also, you guys can support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, following us on all the social media platforms you can. Head to our website, MovieGainz.com, for stuff on box office, Oscars, physical media, and a bunch of other stuff that we do. Shout out to you guys for joining us today. We appreciate being a part of your day, and we're here to entertain, inform, and provide bad movie recommendations. So, lads, let's do it. It's going to be one juicy podcast. But I figured we should start with the passing of Matthew Perry. It's obviously really sad and hard news, so I thought we'd get this topic out of the way early and hopefully finish it up with a positive side at the end of the podcast. But yeah, Matthew Perry passed away last weekend for us. He drowned in his jacuzzi after playing pickleball, and we haven't really heard much on it in terms of what actually happened or how he drowned. I've heard theories on cardiac arrest or something like that. Yeah, he had his funeral, I think, yesterday with the Friends cast showing up and all that. But yeah, I think it's one that really caught, I think, the world by surprise. 54 years of age, and, you know, I guess we're going into the kind of era of like that for those Friends people that they have the possibility of actually passing away now, which is kind of saddening. You know, Gunther from that series passed away in 2021. Now Matthew Perry. Yeah, this one hit me a lot harder than I ever like suspected it would. I think how it happened and the age that Matthew Perry was at, and the fact that it was Chandler Bing. Like Friends, I love Friends. I've seen this series probably about 4 to 5 times from start to finish, and obviously rewatching a bunch of my favorite ones. I guess Kai looks to my Blu-ray box set of Friends over there.
The complete selection, yeah.
I love Friends. Friends has helped me through some harder parts of my life where I've just needed a dose of positivity to uplift myself during tough times. And I think Matthew Perry as Chandler Bing was a big part of helping me through that. And it's I wouldn't say it's weird, but we do apply some kind of emotional investment in people and their performances and what they do to us emotionally. And I think Matthew Perry for me was one that affected me a lot more than I kind of realized. but judging by this death. But yeah, I go back to what I was saying before. I think it's the way that it happened. Michael Gambon recently passed away, who played Dumbledore. Harry Potter's another huge part of me. I'll look to the Blu-ray 4K box set for Harry Potter over there. But he was 80 years old, and it was just at that time, so it didn't affect me much. But yeah, this one was hard. I've often asked you guys like what celebrity passing would kind of affect you emotionally. And I've asked you that in the past, and I've known like there'd be some people, but yeah, Matthew Perry and the Friends cast weren't really on that list. And then when I found out this news, I was quite sad for quite a bit just thinking about it. But yeah, what do you guys know? I don't know how much you've watched Friends or known Matthew Perry's work or his personal story, which he was quite open with.
I mean, I watched Friends about as much as like any normal person did when they were growing up. Like watched it whenever it was on TV, but I was never a watcher of Friends, right? So to speak. I think I never really like sat down and started it from the beginning and kind of got to know the characters.
Yeah.
It was never something I did. Terribly shocking, when it's at that age, and they're not exactly young either, but they're not exactly old.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, it's still in that realm of, what the sort of thing.
Yeah.
And, the passing of Matthew Perry, is, as much as I didn't watch Friends, it does make me kind of remind me that, people can go at any moment sort of thing. And then it kind of goes, one of these days it's going to be the Office cast. And that's a really, really like terrifying prospect of things. Because, the Office is close to me. Friends, not so much.
Right.
But it's sad. It's sad when this happens. You do build a connection or a bond with characters.
Yeah.
And even the actor themselves, because it's really how that actor is portraying that character.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was definitely surprising. I mean, it's usually the ones that you don't see coming that hits the most. Like, what was his name? Dumbledore?
Michael Gambon.
Michael Gambon. Yeah, like you could see that he was getting to that time of his age, but Matthew Perry was like pretty much midlife at the moment, in his 50s. So when he passed away, that was real shocking. Added to the list of hours for that Sunday. But I just remember like scrolling through Facebook, and then I just suddenly see it like randomly. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And I thought it was like a troll site, and I just like actually looked into it, and it was real. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
No, yeah, because following the Rugby World Cup, I was I wouldn't say I was angry, but I was just annoyed, and I had that really sour feeling after that game. And then like this news hit, and then it's all I could really think about. I didn't care about the game after that. Yeah, it just came out of nowhere. I think it's it's sad, but it is a reminder, that just people can go, and people in Hollywood aren't really invincible. But yeah, no, I'm glad we covered that. We'll move on now to some other bad news for the Marvels, and that is the box office projections, which aren't looking good at all. Okay, so the Marvel pre-sales are now pacing behind The Flash, and that opened to 55 million. We know how badly The Flash did at the box office, and we know the budget was something around like 300 million. So you're going to have a little competition going of who the biggest bomb or biggest flop of the year. But apparently the budget is 275 million, but Marvel got a 55 million subsidy from the UK government, which brings its net budget to around 220 million. Still very high. So we're looking at a break-even point around 450 to 550 million. And then once you incorporate the marketing cost and all that, it'll be around that figure. As for Thursday previews, it's looking to be around 6 to 7 million, potential to go under 6 million. And just for comparison to see how bad this is, Morbius did 5.7 million on Thursday previews. But there's still some hope. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was quite weak in its pre-sales, looking around 80 million, got a massive boost up in its last week, and it ended, I think, around like 115, around that area for its opening weekend. But the tracking here is not on the same kind of trend, so the hope is low. And even further to this, the lowest opening weekend for the MCU is The Incredible Hulk, which was 55.4 million. And then once you account for inflation, that'd be around 79 million. So for it to open potentially below 55 million is a big deal.
It's a big deal. I don't know if it'll beat The Incredible Hulk because that's very, very low.
Yeah.
But I think there's a few things to this. For one, a lot of people are projecting this will be the worst box office result for a movie that is a sequel to a $1 billion movie.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah.
So the at this time, the worst box office result for a sequel to its $1 billion original movie is Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Oh yeah, what did that make? You
The Alice, you mean the first one or
the sequel?
I don't remember Through the Looking Glass.
No, that's a good.
It made 170 million. Oh no, so 300 million. It made 300 million. And it's the first one made over $1 billion.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were projecting that it will lose to Alice Through the Looking Glass.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's quite a telling thing. Nay brings up the point often about why Captain Marvel was successful, and it's the movie right before Endgame. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So without that factor in here, what do you think Captain Marvel would have made without that kind of in-game momentum to it?
Probably half. That, I reckon. Maybe around about 600 million, 700.
Yeah.
But I think really the reason why I had $1 billion was because it was literally the movie after Infinity War. Mm-hmm. So everyone was going to go see if it set up Endgame or something like that.
Yeah. Because it only debuted like a couple months before Endgame as well.
Yeah, I think it was like, was it? I don't know when it was, but
March or something.
Yeah, pretty early. But yeah, it's not looking good. I guess it goes to show that everyone's sick of Marvel. We'll get to that in a bit. But it also goes with the track record of Marvel's films and TV series being pretty shit lately. Guardians of the Galaxy is a bit of an outlier there. Mm-hmm. That's probably why it did so well in that last week, was because it ended up being a decent film, and obviously word of mouth for that weekend. Don't really see it for this movie unless it's Marvel is marketing this in like the worst way possible to have a massive surprise. But I think this is gonna flop hard and fast.
Yeah, well, I think the difference here is that Guardians of the Galaxy is also the finale to a trilogy. So it makes a lot of sense for people to be convinced over to go and complete that trilogy and see those characters through. Whereas with the Marvels, it's so truncated. You've got Monica Rambeau from WandaVision. You've got Miss Marvel. Then you've got Kamala Khan. And it's all split all over the place. And it's sort of like you even had a central place to view all these characters build towards that moment. Whereas Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously it did. And I think really what the result will be is a box office, so like a worldwide box office grossing of under 500 million for sure.
I think so, yeah.
I think that's just like a fact already.
Yeah. It shocked me that Ant-Man only made around like 475. And we're going to have another Marvel movie go under that. It's just crazy. Do you think the movie would have benefited if it was called Captain Marvel 2 and I guess the marketing showed the continuation of Brie Larson's Captain Marvel and then with those side characters being in the plot?
Yes, possibly, but I think it would I think a big part of the problem again is that you're using these other properties that, let's be honest, the vast majority of people haven't seen, and you're using that as a way to market your film. And that's, most people only know Captain Marvel. That's it, full stop. And even the people who have seen WandaVision,
won't remember.
They won't even remember who Monica Rambeau is. She'll be like, oh, who's this new character? And it's like, you didn't know, you've already seen her. Because she's such a small part of WandaVision, really, in the grand scheme of things. She's not particularly characterized at all.
It's very true.
So, this is not looking good. And as for the question of would a straight up Captain Marvel 2 work? It would depend on like the villain and the setups and whether or not they're going to do something really interesting with it.
That's true. I mean, I guess this is just a symptom of what really Marvel's really going through, which we're going to cover that off soon because there is a lot to go through for that. I'll move on to the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes trailer. Now, in our previous potties, scroll right down to our bottom podcast when this movie was first announced. I was quite vocal about this idea and not liking it, especially with Wes Ball being in the director's chair following the Matt Reeves trilogy, which I believe is one of the greatest trilogies, at least top 10 trilogies around. Just flat out great. So the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, it is set many years after the reign of Caesar, and it's about a young ape who goes on a journey that will lead him to question everything he's been taught about the past and make choices that will define a future for apes and humans alike. So yeah, it's directed by Wes Ball, and he had directed the Maze Runner films. So yeah, you guys have seen the trailer. What do you think? Is this a surprise or not good?
No, it's not that surprising. Really, the trailer didn't show that much story-wise.
Yeah,
it was just pretty much like a teaser, really. But we got to see the look and feel of what this version of Planet of the Apes is going to be, and it looks very similar to Matt Reeves' trilogy. From like the the apocalyptic look of the buildings and the apes as well. So it definitely does feel like it's a continuation. And you can tell that the CGI is not that finished yet, but I'm sure when the film comes out, we'll get a cleaner product.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now, we don't know much about the story except for that, and the trailer didn't show that much either, except for a human. You could see that one of the apes is gonna fall for. When I say fall, I mean like not fall in love, but like
adopt.
Yeah, adopt
in a way,
a human.
Fall in love.
Was it Freya Allen?
Yeah,
it was right.
Yeah, she's from The Witcher. Plays Ciri, but yeah, you can see that there's going to be that dynamic in this as well, and I'm just going to predict that relationship's going to cause rift among the apes and.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, they kind of did that with War for the Planet of the Apes, the third one, where you had that child called Aurora, who was accompanying them, and she was partly infected by that disease. I think. Yeah. She couldn't hear or something.
Yeah, she was deaf.
Yeah. So maybe we'll get a more fleshed out, because I don't think that was particularly fleshed out in the third film. But maybe we'll get something like that in this one. But yeah, I think you're right. I don't think it's revealing much. I think it was very much just like trying to show the feel of the film. I am hesitant. Like, I'm still hesitant. I'm on your side here, James, about Wes Ball and whether or not he can do what Matt Reeves does. I don't think he can. Yeah. Just because I think what Matt Reeves brings to the table is a very humanized way of doing apes, where he treats apes like humans, that not just in the way he shoots them, but in the way the dialogue is and everything like that. It just feels like the apes are having a human conversation with each other. Yeah. And I'm just hesitant whether or not Wes Ball can capture that. Like, he can capture those same things. Yeah. And then let alone the really like powerful imagery that Matt Reeves has in that original trilogy. Yeah. You know, there's that shot in the second film where it pans down. It shows the back of those guys in like tactical gear moving through the jungle. It says like, it might be in the third one actually. And it says like monkey killer on the back, and it's like,
I think that's the opening to the third one.
I think it is the opening to the third, but it's it's such a tone to it.
Yeah. It immediately establishes the tone for that final film. I must say I'm happy with the teaser, and I think it's perfect as a teaser as well. I don't think we need to be giving away story points and stuff just yet, especially with the strikes and all that stuff going on. But yeah, I'm happy with it, and I remain adamant that it won't touch the Matt Reeves trilogy, especially in kind of the feel and again capturing like the emotion of the apes in a real humanistic kind of way. But yeah, it looks like a continuation on from the look and the feel of it. Obviously the grass and the bushes and trees have kind of grown all over the thing now, continuing on from what the Matt Reeves ones, where it was only like a little bit throughout the cities and stuff like that.
Yeah, it kind of looks to be like at least over 100 years, maybe less than that.
Yeah,
I think the and like by the time of Caesar's reign, it's been like 20 or 30 years.
it looks like far in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering what because I imagine there'll be some sort of connection to Caesar. This young ape will probably be like a
Descendant or something.
yeah, like a grandson or something.
Maybe.
They'll probably throw that out again. I think I don't think visually it's going to be as good. I don't think CGI is going to be as good as the Matt Reeves ones as well, which is quite crazy to say since it will be 7 years after War for the Planet of the Apes, and the visual effects won't be as good. I don't think Wes Ball will understand how to do it as well as Matt Reeves.
No.
Plus, Matt Reeves does this really good thing where he loves close-ups on the apes, capturing the emotion and just getting really a lot of detail out of those characters. It just makes them feel so real and tangible. I don't think we're going to get that here. I think we're going to get a glossy kind of
more generic shot angles and like distance shots where you see their full body with like very clear CGI. Yeah. Whereas like Reeves just will go right up to the eyes or like right up to the face and you kind of hide all the rest that's hard to do.
Yeah.
Like that opening of Dawn where it's literally just right there. And
the
camera slowly goes out.
Oh, and they're all in the trees. Gosh, that's such a good shot.
That's such a good shot. Yeah. And he just knows how to set the tone for a movie. And I think at the end of War, it's kind of like zooms up on his face as he looks out onto the other apes as they kind of get free or something like that. So I think we are going to get a more glossy version of apes, but I don't think this is going to be bad. For the most part, I was happy with what I saw. I just have to manage my own expectations and not go in expecting a Reeves Apes film.
Yeah, I mean, Kingdom, it kind of infers that this is about the apes as like maybe like scattered nations coming together to create a kingdom, a single unified kingdom. And that's where the apes kingdom begins.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so this will probably lead through to another trilogy,
I think it would, and then potentially with the third one, it would like lead off to what we know as the original Planet of the Apes, where there's a human from the past that comes to the future.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Or Rise of the Planet of the Humans. They take it back.
Ooh.
And we just keep doing the cycle forever in film history. Anyway, we're going to move on to the Inside Out sequel. So apparently there are some new emotions joining Inside Out 2. And there will be envy, ennui, which is a feeling of weariness and dissatisfaction and boredom. Interesting to have ennui there. And anxiety and embarrassment. So those are 4 new emotions joining headquarters. So the movie follows Riley as she becomes a teenager. Now, it is unclear if Discuss and Fear are in the film because Mindy Kaling and Bill Hader aren't in the film due to contractual issues. So nothing's been confirmed yet regarding the characters or, just the characters. It's directed by Kelsey Mann, and this is her directorial debut. But it is written by Meg LaFauve, who wrote Inside Out 1. And we know that Inside Out is a great Pixar film. I'm pretty sure it's one of your favorite Pixar movies, isn't it, Nan? I remember we're listing Pixar movies. You're a big Inside Out guy.
I can't remember. We did that ages ago. I think it's definitely in the top 10. It's probably in the mid top 5.
Yeah, but it is a great Pixar movie. Yeah. What are your thoughts on new emotions joining headquarters and the emotions that are confirmed to join?
Yeah, I like these emotions. I mean, they're emotions that a teenager will go through, especially anxiety and embarrassment.
Yep.
Especially if it's going to focus on Riley getting bullied or something. I mean, there will be embarrassment in there or something like that. Anxiety, we'll see that. Boredom, ennui. Never heard of that emotion until right now.
Yeah. It's like a fancy name for the emotions. Yeah.
Isn't it just like apathy?
Yeah, it is kind of like apathy, in a way,
Yeah, so I guess it's good to see that there's going to be new emotions in there rather than just the same ones we had when she was a child. It's going to bring a different dynamic to, I guess, those headquarters scenes, as you said.
Yeah.
In regards to the directors, I mean, director debut, can't really comment on that, but it has the same writer.
Yeah.
And we know that Inside Out is a very good written film, so maybe hopefully lightning can strike twice.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, for what I remember from Inside Out, these emotions, well, they seem to be like kind of peculiar. I I think it's probably important to understand that, you know, it usually with Riley, it's only showing like a very small snapshot of her life.
Yeah.
Like we're talking a few days.
Yeah.
Like maybe like 2 or 3 days where there's these certain emotions that she's feeling.
Yeah.
And that's maybe what this is targeted at. You know, a certain period in her life, certain few days in her life, and she's feeling these specific emotions.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think it's necessarily supposed to be that, you know, like ennui or you know, embarrassment, all these things are replacing the core emotions.
Right.
It's just more so that you know, she's feeling these certain feelings at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think they are all closely associated with, you know, new emotions that kind of come into the fray as when you grow up and you go through puberty and be a teenager and stuff.
Yes.
I think these are 4 emotions that you feel quite strongly as you're kind of going through this, I guess, transition in a sense to, from a child to an adult. I think it's good that we got new emotions. I think it's showing, you know, how emotions change and develop and evolve over time. I would have preferred if the old emotions that were the ones that were in Inside Out 1 weren't in the movie at all. And it kind of showed, or it had like an opening by, is it Amy Powler that plays Joy, kind of just explaining how they kind of split or had to leave headquarters as Riley grows up. She has to, new emotions come in.
And it's like new management.
Yeah.
You know, it's like new management is coming through and replacing the old ones.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, you get a bunch of like different emotions that kind of handle Joy, but it's split off into different segments of what that is. And it just shows how we become more complex in our emotions and how the thinking changes. And kind of, you know how in Inside Out they got the, you know, control panel there. It's just like this big keyboard or whatever. And it kind of shows the them all like all these new emotions just fighting over what to do. Kind of how we figure out how to handle, you know, all our different emotions as we get older, and kind of just how our thinking and the way we handle emotions is much more complex than a child. And as a child, the core emotions fit really well: happy, sad, angry, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's pretty easy. But as you get older, it gets a little bit harder, and I think it'd be a good way of showing that.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, I think just having new emotions in it, I think is a win for this. I was never on board for an Inside Out 2, and I would have preferred I don't know if I would have preferred it, but I would have liked Inside Out being in a different human character. Just showing different stuff. But I think this is probably better than that, to be honest. It's a Pixar movie that I'm looking forward to. You have the screenwriter there from the first one that gives me a little bit of reassurance there. Because I think Inside Out, first one is a top tier Pixar movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's not Pete Docter helming the ship, but it is, you know, at least he's probably put his trust in this original writer. Of the first one.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen Elemental yet. Have you?
I've not seen Elemental yet.
Yeah. A lot of people were down on it, but I really loved Elemental. I think it's great. I'm not going to say it's top tier Pixar, but, you know, from that movie, animation is just going to be so good. Like,
100%.
Their animation is just insane. Yeah, so that part I'm looking forward to. Something I'm not looking forward to, based on the trailers, The Fall Guy. So The Fall Guy follows Colt Seavers, who is a stuntman and who left the business a year earlier to focus on both his physical and mental health. He's drafted back into service when the star of a mega budget studio movie, which is being directed by his ex, goes missing. So it stars Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, and Aaron Taylor Johnson. It's directed by David Leitch, who has previously done Atomic Blonde, Deadpool 2, Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw, and most recently Bullet Train. So you lads have seen the trailer. What did we take away from this?
It kind of felt Netflix produced to me. It felt like something that would have been like a Netflix film. I get hints of Free Guy from it, and it has nothing to do with the name.
Free Guy's good.
It's more so that like that humor and the construction and the tone it's going for.
Yeah,
it's going for that very like carefree sort of like safe avenue. That will be pleasing everyone. That's not to discredit Free Guy. I think it's like very entertaining consumerist film making.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of feels like I've already seen it.
Right.
I've seen that movie
Yeah.
before I've seen it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah. Well, you know.
Yeah, the first half of the trailer for me, I found real entertaining. And the second half, I was just lost.
Yeah.
That first half, I was like, oh, cool. It's about a stunt guy, you know? And
Yeah.
like him going through day-to-day work or something. That's so
Mhm.
interesting. And then it turns out to be that he has to save this actor because he's a stunt guy and no one will recognize him. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of silly. Yeah.
But I guess both Fall Guy, you know,
Yeah.
that's the whole, he's
Yeah.
the Fall Guy. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm the same as you. Like, I immediately started zoning out
Yeah.
while I was watching that trailer. I was almost staring into space partway through. I was like, all right, no, I've clocked out.
yeah. And it looks like as if they're going to get like a half-assed sort of performance from Emily Blunt as well. We know she's a fantastic actress, but she just doesn't seem to be there in this film.
Just kind of get in the bag, you know, getting paid and leaving. Yeah.
She seems to just be picking really weak roles recently.
Yeah, and Ryan Gosling just seems like, you know, his usual self in these sort of films, like, you know, the nice guy and
Ken.
the
Grey Man.
as well, you know, the
Yeah.
sort of like quiet sort of moody characters with like little quips here and there and stuff like that. So who knows, this film could be a surprise. It could, like Bullet Train, you know,
Yeah.
that was pretty enjoyable, or I found it pretty enjoyable.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not really looking good at this stage.
Yeah.
I mean, Bullet Train is a trailer. I think I remember. I don't remember what your opinion on the trailer of Bullet Train was. Did you have a good opinion or bad opinion of it?
I think it was fine. Like,
Yeah, you're like, that looks okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing it and be like, this movie's not going to be good. I think I had a pretty strong opinion that it wouldn't be good.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
And it ended up being okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so look, he's David Leitch, you know, he's an uncredited John Wick director. I think he was a co-director of the first one.
Yeah.
But he's not, I think he can produce something that's at the very least like floor level entertaining on some level. Like it will keep you watching it.
Yeah.
Just.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like you. I am worried a little bit about Ryan Gosling, about falling into roles where he is very similar to what he's done before. I think and I hope he doesn't become one of those actors where it's like, oh, he's just playing himself kind of thing, where he just kind of plays the same character because he's good at doing it. Where he's kind of like, it's like an action role, but he's like that funny, haha kind of guy. And I do worry about that, and we are kind of seeing it here. But that trailer, I think, was just so poorly constructed.
Yeah.
Focused too long on like different jokes, and the song selection is awful.
Terrible.
It reminded me of Baywatch. Yeah, I just got Baywatch vibes from it. Yeah, so it's just, I think it'll be better than what it looks like from the trailer. But it's not looking too good right now. You look at the stuff that David Leitch has done before, and they're all fine stuff. Atomic Blonde, I thought that's good. Deadpool 2, Hobbs and Shaw, Bullet Train, like they're fine movies, and that's all that they are. And I think the Fall Guy is just going to slide right into that mix. Yeah. So it should be something interesting. I just hope it's better than what it looks like, because it's not looking too good.
I think it will probably be exactly what it looks like.
Oh, you think so?
I think it'll be exactly what it looks like. Yeah,
you said that about Bullet Train.
That's true. That is true. But I wouldn't say Bullet Train was a great movie. I would say it was just like bottom line watchable.
Bottom line, I enjoyed it. I don't know if it's good, but it was really entertaining.
I think I 80% of it was Aaron Taylor Johnson for me.
Yeah.
Like if I'm just being honest, I think he saved it really.
Oh, 100%. He's great into that.
Brad Pitt, I couldn't even tell you what he did in it. It's a blur to me. But Aaron Taylor Johnson, very, very standout.
He was, yeah. Just the punching his way into the train.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's so good. Yeah. All right, we'll move on now to HBO using fake Twitter accounts. So Casey Bloys, he is the CEO of HBO. He ordered staffers to create fake accounts and to fire back at critics, according to some text conversations that were reviewed by the Rolling Stone as part of a new lawsuit. So the HBO boss admits this, and he apologizes for using fake accounts to fire back at those critics. He said, "I want the shows to be great. It's very important to me when you all think of the shows. When you think about that and then think of 2020 and 2021, I'm working from home and doing an unhealthy amount of scrolling through Twitter, and I came up with a very, very dumb idea to vent my frustration." I don't know if you guys have seen the fake account that was like, I've only seen one fake account, but it was obvious that it was a fake account, like stock profile picture. And just the way they fired back was just so cringe. But yeah, what do you guys think about studios doing this? And do you think there's a wider problem, like perhaps other studios are doing this just sneakily?
I mean, I don't think it was a dumb idea to do this. I think it was like one of the most catastrophically brain dead ideas. I don't even understand where, like, as the CEO of HBO, where you begin to like come up with that or go, oh, this is the way to go. It's like HBO doesn't even need to defend itself. There's no level in which it requires it to defend itself. It has more than enough good reputation and love behind it that there's no need to be defensive. It just goes, we don't care. We produce good stuff. Full stop.
Would you say HBO is probably the highest regarded in terms of TV studios?
In terms of like a specific individual studio in the television industry, yeah.
Yeah, they would be, right?
Yes,
They're
they
kind of
would
the
be.
standard. They set the standard.
They set the standard for all television.
Does AMC fall into that?
Yes.
AMC, falls into a high quality standard, but they also have many things that are also low quality.
No, I mean, falls into HBO.
Does AMC fall into HBO? How do you mean?
They're not HBO, but they are like a TV studio. Right?
Yeah, they're completely separate from HBO. They're not owned by Warner's. They're owned by someone else.
Yeah. But yeah, what do you think now about fake Twitter accounts?
Pretty pathetic, hey? I mean, his excuse is stupid as well. Oh, I was working at home and I was scrolling through Twitter. Oh, poor baby. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Like, just fucking take it on the chin and move on. You're fucking probably a billionaire. Just who gives a shit?
It's just going off. Yeah, no, it is a really dumb thing to do. I don't really know why you would consider that to be a good idea.
And it's not going to change anyone's opinion as well. But okay, cool.
It'll just create that Streisand effect as well, where the more you try to like deny or hide something, the more attention you bring it. Yeah, and it's so stupid. Like, it doesn't make any sense from any angle from a marketing angle to do that.
Yeah, it's just fun. You would think about like this situation happening, it would be like some like kind of like low level staff and like a little group of their friends being like, oh, let's do this. It'll be haha, it's funny. But the CEO of HBO doing this, it's hilarious in its own way. And then you look at the like fake account that at least I saw, it had like one follower and like following 20 people. Yeah. And so like, what are they going to do? Bite back? And then everyone's like, oh, let's look at like this opinion here. And then it's like, oh, okay, yep, they made a good point. Like, it's not going to change anyone's mind. No. There's nothing productive that comes from this. And the fact that they ordered stuff to make fake accounts, it's not like just him as like I'm suffering, I'm working from home, I don't know how to deal with this kind of stuff or whatever. He's ordering staff to do this. It's not just him on his own accord.
And look, at least he admitted he did it for a purely emotional reason. And it was like an emotional response. And it's like, you probably shouldn't be CEO if you're making emotional decisions like this. Like, there are times for like certain emotional decisions where it's like, for ethics. Yeah. But this is not one of those times at all. You're literally using your position to try and influence public perception. Yeah. In a really like twisted way. It's like, no, you don't get a pass on that. That's like really like twisted, man.
Yeah. It reminds me of the recent news. I think it was it Disney that had paid Rotten Tomatoes critics to do positive?
It wasn't a studio. It was from what I understand, it was
a public
distributor
company.
Or something.
Public relations company, a PR firm.
Yeah. Yeah. That paid critics to give it, but it wasn't directly a studio.
Right. Yeah. No, it wasn't. Yeah. A PR firm that's, bribing them with $50 or something. Yeah. To do positive reviews. I think it was for their actors. and then the PR firm's going to benefit from that because they have clientele with higher reputation, all that. So it elevates their position. But yeah, it reminds me of something like that.
Yeah, just some real twisted stuff. Yeah,
does make me think about what other stuff could be going on that we don't really know about. I think there is probably a lot of like bribing and manipulation under the surface in social media.
Probably bribing. There's probably like low level stuff as well that you don't see. Like for example, like a publisher, like say like I don't even know if they review stuff, but like the Washington Post, which is owned by Amazon, which also owns Amazon Studios, which also has movies.
Yeah.
And it's like, so they're producing reviews for their own movies. So, how much interconnection is there between that?
That's true, yeah.
It's sort of like, there are things like that where it's questionable.
Yeah.
And like, because you technically work for the same parent company.
I mean, I think as a critic, I think it's hard to be objective all the time, and we've kind of emphasized a lot on when we do reviews. But it even goes to like us, like the little guys. We go to like media screenings and premieres and stuff, and I don't know, like it's hard when you go to one of these premieres and it's such a good event. Like the studios put like a lot into it. It's got good drinks, the atmosphere is good, food, and then it makes you enjoy the movie more because you've had a good experience leading up to that. And so they do kind of manipulate you in that kind of way.
They do in a sense. I think it's why it's important to like sit on the movie for a bit.
Yeah.
Because like after you've been fed with drinks and food and pampered and given a kiss on the cheek, it's hard to like leave that situation feeling like bitter or like bad about the movie. You overall feel like grateful for the experience. So in a way, it's probably best to like leave the movie, leave it for a day, kind of like let it sink in, and then go, okay, now think about this objectively.
Yeah.
Release all those like other interferences.
Yeah, definitely. But we'll move on now. We're going to go into the juiciest topic of the week. So that's Marvel. So if you've missed the news this week, I don't know where you've been because a lot of different bad news had dropped. Now, Variety posted an article that kind of covered, just the recent fiasco that Marvel has been under, releasing a whole bunch of different new stuff that we hadn't seen. But I think a few years now, we've been seeing the cracks in Marvel, seeing kind of it on a downward trend. I think it's quite evident to say so, even, based on the financial perspective, the quality perspective, everything is trending downwards. So we got a little bit more confirmation of that. I'm going to try and break this down through the different parts of what the article covered. And I'm going to be reading, different quotes and stuff from the article just to provide some context to whoever's listening right now and to just for you guys, just so you know.
True, but we should say that these aren't facts necessarily. They are more like
it's
revealed things that we may or may not be true. I have heard some people come through the line work saying X, Y, and Z isn't true in this.
Okay.
We don't know.
Right, yeah. If I cover anything that you've heard that, just say that, because I haven't heard anything from that. But yeah, it is coming from like sources and insiders and stuff. It's not directly from Marvel, and Feige and stuff haven't commented on this article. But we'll cover the Jonathan Majors stuff first. So yeah, Marvel really has no idea what to do with the whole Jonathan Majors situation. He's got a high-profile trial in New York later this month for domestic violence charges. So Jonathan Majors insists that he is the victim, but the damage to his reputation and the chance he could lose the case has forced Marvel to reconsider its plans to center the next phase of its sequels and spin-offs and all that stuff around Kang the Conqueror. So they've been discussing backup plans, perhaps pivoting to a new villain such as Doctor Doom. One dealmaker says that Marvel is truly fucked with the whole Kang angle. And he's seen the last episode of Loki, and he says that they haven't had a chance to rewrite until recently because of the writer's strike. So that person doesn't see how they can move. They don't see a path how they can, go forward with Jonathan Majors as Kang. The source also says that regardless of the actor's legal issues, Marvel already considered moving away from Majors' led multiverse saga because of the box office performance of Quantumania. And He's just saying that it gave people pause given that Quantumania didn't exactly land. So what do you guys make of this? And what do you think they should do?
Well, don't blame the box office results for Quantumania on Jonathan Majors, because that's not the reason why it flopped. It was because it was a fucking shit movie. In regards to it, it is a bit sad. I think Jonathan Majors is a fantastic actor, and what he's done in Loki and as Kang in Quantumania, he's played like the same character but 3 different versions in 3 different unique ways, which is very hard for an actor to do, let alone this. So hopefully he's like not guilty as a consumer, because I want to see him more of what he can do as this character, and I think he can do amazing things with it. But I said it before, and I think it still rings true for now, is that you can still recast him. I mean, the only things he's been in is Quantumania and 2 seasons of Loki.
Yeah.
How many people have really seen Loki, and how many people, no one has seen Quantumania. So perfect to just recast and keep your original plans of Kang, but just with a different actor. It's not too late to do that, so that's probably the better version, rather than trying to rewrite an entire saga when we're already midway through.
Right.
It's just, might as well just set out to the end and then.
So not pivoting to a new villain, but just recasting Kang in general.
Yeah, because it's not too late. He's only been in 3 things.
Yeah, and this is the multiverse saga. This is the easiest saga ever to recast anyone. So
I mean, if they did it to Rhodey, do it.
Yeah, it's still early. You might as well do it now. I think his reputation is too tarnished, regardless of where the court case, wherever the court case goes. I think his reputation is tarnished. He's been dropped by, I think, all his publicists.
And his recent movie is put on hold indefinitely.
Yeah,
I forgot the name of it, but we discussed it last week, I think.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but I don't know. I don't see I don't see them moving forward with Jonathan Majors. But yeah, what do you think they should do in this case?
I mean, I'm surprised you guys are saying they should drop him, because I strongly feel that they should wait until we see the result of this trial,
right,
before they make a decision.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't know how long this trial will be.
Yeah.
But if we get a preliminary result which indicates his innocence, or indicates his guiltiness, then I think that should be the deciding factor. I think, as much as I understand studios dropping actors when there is a controversy, like a court case going on, like with the Amber Heard Johnny Depp situation, I also think that it's important not to make snap judgments just because those things are happening. It's not to, and Marvel has fallen, or at least Disney has fallen into this mistake many times before, where they've fallen into this trap of booting someone out, and then regretting it, and then trying to bring them back in. So I think wait it out a bit, see the result a bit, and then maybe just move forward with it in a more like paced way,
right?
A safer way.
Yeah, well, we saw the whole James Gunn thing. I remember those tweets kind of coming to the surface again, and then I remember I was beside you when I discovered this, and I was like to you, dude, I think he's going to go. I think Disney's going to let him go. Next day he was gone. And then they're all scrambling around, what do we do with Guardians 3? And then they bring him back, and then they lose him to DC. And he created their only success for the year, which was Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And now he's the head of DC's new plan moving forward. So you've lost one of your best directors.
Well, self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. Like, you boot him out, and then you've created this new sort of branch, in a sense.
Branch.
But I think, what does this mean for the future of Marvel Studios? Truly, I don't think it changes anything for this current phase. Yeah. Should I say phase, or should I say saga?
Saga. Because we're on phase 5.
Yeah, but it doesn't change the saga, in my opinion. I think the saga is a mess. With or without Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
I don't think his involvement in the saga changes any of that.
Yeah.
It just makes it a little bit more of a mess if he's gone.
The messy thing about waiting for, I guess, a court case verdict, and I do agree with that. I guess Marvel should probably write versions of the saga and Marvel based on all kind of possible outcomes, just so they can quickly pivot to whatever direction when we get a result. But the thing with Jonathan Majors is that the court case focuses on one charge of domestic violence. Since that, other people came out about Jonathan Majors and his, I guess, abusive tactics. One of them worked on Ant-Man Quantumania. So there are other issues there, which I think affects the reputation beyond just this court case thing. But we'll see what Disney does. They have more problems on their hands right now. Obviously, one is going to be the Marvels. Obviously, the box office is going to be a factor there. So with the Marvels, they didn't build on the success of Captain Marvel. They incorporated Monica Rambeau from WandaVision, Miss Marvel from her Disney Plus show, and apparently this move resulted in 4 weeks of reshoots to bring coherence to a tangled storyline. So it initially wasn't meant to be like that, and then they did do that. So late scrambling to get that movie to, come to fruition. Apparently eyebrows were raised again when the director, Nia DaCosta, began working on another film while The Marvels was in post-production. So she moved to London earlier this year to begin prepping for her Tessa Thompson drama called Hedda. And then in June, Marvel, which traditionally only solicits feedback from Disney employees and their friends and family, took the uncharacteristic step of holding a public test screening in Texas in which the audience gave the film middling reviews. So it seems like The Marvels is doomed. But there's also a lot of problems in here and just like keeping, projects just, from the start, forming the concept and then all the way through the execution. It's just, at the beginning, pre-production, like a tangled storyline, reshoots, the director going away. Like, what do you make of the Marvels kind of?
I will say this. From what I remember, Nia DaCosta did actually deny this part.
Oh, really?
She said this is exaggerated, and her leaving for a project is very common for directors because it was through the editing stage or through the post-production stage. Then they made the changes. Right. I think it's also probably important for us to not view production problems like this as something new. I think this has been common for Marvel for a long time. There have been, the first Iron Man was full of production problems, right?
Yeah.
And that started the MCU. So, there's this, we could fall into that trap of perceiving problems where they were always common.
Yeah.
But I do think that part about the audiences giving them middling reviews is probably true.
Yeah.
I think that the result is that this movie is probably not going to capture audiences in the way that they had hoped.
Yeah. Do you agree with that though? Director leaving in post-production at any stage in post-production for that matter?
It really depends on what stage it is. Like if it's in a stage at which the director has no control over, for example, like certain animation passes, they're starting off with like animation passes where it's like, well, this is going to take 3 months. I may as well just like start on my other project. Fine.
Yeah.
And then you can work from home a little bit remotely and then take notes and be like, no, don't do that, do that, do that, do that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right, what do you think about this whole Marvels stuff?
Yeah, it's definitely the nail in the coffin for this film, eh? Especially with the audience as well. I think, I think it's quite similar to Aquaman at the moment. I think that had test screenings and it's been getting awful reviews. This sounds pretty much similar. So pretty much everything about this film has just been negative at the moment. They're showing like big cameos in order to get people into the film. Just goes to show how desperate they are. And Marvel clearly can see that this is not going to be a success for them. In regards to the director leaving, during it, I have the same thoughts as Kyan. If they're no longer involved, they might as well go off and start working on another project. And if they do come across anything, they can just give out tips here and there.
Yeah. A question to follow up for both of you on that one. Do you think the really good directors, I'm not saying Nia DaCosta is not a good director, but other directors, and it may be unfair because they're not working on studio movies, Martin Scorsese, Denis Villeneuve, Guillermo del Toro, do you think they would leave at any point during the post-production of their films?
I think it's a bit different because those three that you mentioned, when they direct a film, it's usually a passion project. Especially Martin Scorsese, he doesn't quite work for a franchise type studio or stuff like that. And Villeneuve, his past two films were Dune, which he was a big fan of. So I feel that they want to be heavily involved throughout the entire stages of that process. If it was someone like, say, Christopher Nolan during The Dark Knight, that's somewhat of a franchise, so it could be a bit more relatable. But I think with those directors, I think they're just very passionate in their work.
I just mean directors along those lines. So Christopher Nolan's a good one. Do you think he can leave at any point during post-production of Dark Knight? Or if we had heard reports about that, would we be like, oh, might not be as good?
I think they're the type of directors to do that because they exert such power over the production process that it's a combination. Like, it's what Nain says, it's their passion project, it's their film.
Yeah.
They're very, very hyper-perfectionist directors, whereas whoever is coming in to produce a Marvel film, they know it's not entirely theirs.
Yeah.
They know that it's a partnership in a sense. A what, sorry?
A formula.
A formula, exactly.
Yeah.
They know they're walking into a formula, a strict formula. So, of course, like, there's always that part of them that goes, it's not entirely mine.
Yeah.
I'm more of a guide than I am a birther of this film.
Yeah. I mean, I'd ask if the MCU should be choosing more directors who have more of a passion project sensibility to them in terms of coming into like new projects. But I'd wonder about something like James Gunn, which Guardians of the Galaxy, all of them are kind of passion projects of his. I would like to know if he ever left during post-production or he was always on board with it. How much creative control did he have? Because we would remember in Phase 3, we had a lot of kind of movies that, Marvel allowed a lot of creative control through a lot of those movies. And why is it all of a sudden now that they're like, no, it's like Marvel's going to kind of take over and do their own thing. You go do whatever you want.
Can you rephrase that? How do you mean?
I kind of got twisted up in my words there.
Yeah.
Well, in Phase 3, there was a lot of movies which clearly had directors, taking reign over creative control. Marvel allowed that. And so I would imagine a lot of those directors stayed around for post-production, made sure it was to their liking and their vision. So why is it all of a sudden now in Phase 4 or Phase 5 or whatever phase we're in that, we're saying, or you guys are saying that, oh yeah, they can just leave. Marvel takes over during post-production, so they're allowed to go.
I mean, that's implying that directors of the past in the previous stages
it is
did have, but did they? Is that true?
There were always quotes about, Taika Waititi had creative control on Ragnarok and
but I think we all know
Black
that
Panther.
The creative control has an asterisk at the end. Like, it's not full creative control, of course.
Yeah, Feige is the headmaster of it all. He guides the ship in its entirety. But in terms of creative control, I think Feige allowed and trusted his directors to go off and do their own thing.
But they still had to stick within the formula, no? Within that Marvel
I would
formula.
assume within a formula. I don't know the intricate details, but I can't imagine the directors like Coogler leaving in post-production of Black Panther. I don't know if it's good, because if it's something that's happening now and the quality of Marvel movies are going down right now, maybe it's better if the directors stay around for post-production too.
Maybe it is.
Execute visions.
I don't know. I think the whole production process of movies is very long and complicated. On average, it takes about 2 years to produce a film.
Yeah.
And in that time, as the director, you expected to be there in that entire 2-year span, even though there are periods of the filmmaking process that do not require your attention.
That's the interesting part.
It really comes down to whether or not it requires your attention. James Gunn was producing Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Peacemaker, and the Suicide Squad pretty much simultaneously.
I think perhaps it might be about location. Moving across the world to go to London rather than being able to just drive to Marvel Studios and meet up with the creative team or something like that. Yeah. So perhaps that may be the issue. But we got really into that conversation. But we're going to move on now to some other issues regarding staff, visual effects, script development, more issues here. So apparently, a source has talked about Kevin's real superpower, his genius, has always been in post-production and getting his hands on movies and making sure that they're finished strongly. And these days, he's spread too thin. And that's just because there's just too much content. He can't focus on it all at once. Feige isn't the only person showing signs of strain. Marvel's entire VFX battle on, including staffers and vendors, struggling to keep pace with a never-ending stream of productions. This past February, when the credits rolled at the world premiere of Quantumania, shock rippled through the Regency Village Theatre in Westwood over some shoddy CGI. There were at least 10 scenes where the visual effects had been added at the last minute and were out of focus. It was insane, and the veteran power broker who said this said that it was something that they've never seen something like that in their entire career. Everyone was talking about it, even the kids of executives were talking about it. So Marvel VFX workers recently voted unanimously to unionize in September. They were fed up with 14-hour work days and no overtime, sparking an industry-wide trend. The VFX logjam has been evident for some time. Final VFX shots for WandaVision and She-Hulk were inserted after they debuted on the Disney Plus platform. She-Hulk VFX issues were a sign of a deeper rot, namely the oversight on script development. In the original She-Hulk script, the transformation from Tatiana Maslany's into her Hulk character didn't happen until the 8th episode. So Marvel realized that the scene needed to be in the pilot episode when she became Hulk to allow audience to see the character's backstory early. So that meant that the VFX team was tasked with fixing the mess in post-production. The so-called bad VFX we see is because of half-baked scripts. That is Kevin and even above Kevin. This is what one of the sources was saying. These issues should be addressed in pre-production. The timeline is not allowing Marvel executives to sit with the material and oversee scripts like they used to. Mm-hmm. And this is all happening while Marvel bleeds money due to these balloon budgets, including what was revealed to be around $250 million budget for She-Hulk.
Yeah, see, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere saying that the first episode of She-Hulk cost more than the final episode of Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Which
insane.
is bananas.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that says something about HBO's fantastic budgeting or Disney's terrible budgeting. But either way, I think it shows that they're producing stuff that is quite literally at, cinematic level across 7-hour period. That's the average miniseries length. 7-8 hours.
Yeah.
Well, maybe less than that. There's not eight episodes. There's usually six.
Are you talking about the average or
the average Marvel TV series?
Yeah, it's about 6 episodes. Yeah, about 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 5 hours of content.
Yeah.
Plus all the Marvel movies they're producing, which they have ramped up in recent years.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much for the teams that they've established to handle, and it's too much for Feige.
Yeah,
it's way too much for Feige. And you got to understand the scripts for these TV series. They're so much longer.
Yeah,
they're 2 or 3 times as long as a movie. How do you allocate your time to that? You can't. You can't allocate your time to that as a creative director of Marvel.
The whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really just expected that this has happened.
Yeah.
This is an end result of, spreading butter over too much bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
It perfectly makes sense as to why the quality has dropped both script-wise and visual-wise ever since after Endgame.
Yeah.
I think Marvel got this, I don't know if it's actually Kevin Feige, but probably people higher up in Disney got this bright idea that Endgame works so well, why not just double everything?
Yeah.
And they didn't think about the smaller stuff, like these workers and how the staff they had at that time was perfect for a movie, but not for perfect for 2 movies a year, but not 3 TV shows and 3 movies a year, So you got a team of people literally tripling their work within a certain time frame. Obviously they get fed up, and obviously 14 hours plus overtime with no pay, that's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. It's from the bottom to the top as well. So those workers are getting strained, right? But then also Feige right at the top is getting strained. So they've tried to quite literally milk or extract as much as they can from it, trying to double those numbers.
Yeah.
And the result is the quality of all of it has gone down, and it's resulted in these really poor. It's not just like the poor in the construction of the film. It's poor in like other things like continuity. Like continuity has taken a hit as well.
100%.
Like it's taken a major hit, and I think I felt that as much as people do dog on it. I think this is true. I really felt that with Eternals.
Yeah.
Eternals really started those continuity problems where you're going, hold on.
Yeah.
You know, what about this, and this?
And the fact that they still haven't addressed the Celestial's hand in the atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or like a giant Celestial's head in the sky as he appears right at the end of that film. You know, there's a giant Celestial in the sky.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that wasn't even mentioned.
Yeah.
But, you know, that aside, it's like these continuity errors is not something that Feige would typically let slide in the past.
Yeah.
You know, he wouldn't have let that sort of stuff slide. But now it is because it's just too much.
Yeah. That's really, what Feige is all about, not, making sure each single thing is as great as it needs to be. His main task is to bring it all together, to create duality in storytelling and pushing it in one direction. And, to make a Loki reference, it's kind of like we got all these branches of different stories and none of it's kind of coming together.
Yeah.
That's what Feige needs to do. And he can't do it unless they want to hire more Feiges, have 3 Feiges at it but then what's the
Then you're
point?
splitting up creative views.
Yeah. So they need to scale back.
Yes, they
Scale
absolutely
back.
do. Yeah.
I think they need to scale back dramatically.
Yeah.
No series. Drop all your series and just have two movies a year, build some steam, and then we can get up to the 3 movies a year again.
I think series are okay, but I think that whatever series you're creating can have no effect whatsoever on the main continuity line.
So Kevin Feige doesn't really need to over.
Exactly.
Not much. Yeah.
So I think, in a sense, this Marvel, is it Visions? Not Visions. Spotlight.
Yeah.
Thing is if the purpose of Spotlight is to focus on more grounded characters that are focused further away from the main continuity line, then I think that's a good idea.
I do like that. Yeah.
But I don't think it's a good idea to introduce some new lead character who's going to be in the next big Marvel film, and they play a vital role in how the cinematic universe twists and turns. It's like, that's not a good idea because Feige needs to be involved in that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I mean, you can go back to Loki, and I think we all like Loki, especially in amongst what we're getting now with Marvel. But Loki, has introduced, a very integral part of the future of the MCU, which is Kang, and obviously has major ramifications for the future of the MCU, at least from what I'm hearing from Deadpool 3 and how the new Avengers movies are playing out. The TVA play a part in it. Who's watched Loki beyond MCU fan base? I don't know why they would watch Loki. If I'm trying to put my mind frame into the sense of a casual viewer, it's like, oh, he died in that Marvel movie. Pass. I'll go to something else. Yeah. So I do agree. They need to scale back with the TV series. Maybe just do Spotlight stuff. Yeah. I think that's it. And I think you can easily show or have Spotlight series that have characters and flesh out those characters without having any effect on the MCU.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
I think that's true as well.
Yeah, but introducing new characters that are integral to the future. They should be movies and not series.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, we'll move on to Blade now, which is a movie, which is introducing a new character. We got our first little hint at Blade in the Eternals post-credit scene. You guys remember that?
Oh, yeah.
The sword or something like that, yeah. So Blade's going to be played by Mahershala Ali, and he was announced as Blade, I think, what was it, 20 years ago? I think I was 10 years old when it got announced. It feels like forever. I don't know when this movie is going to come. But yeah, no, apparently this movie, so this project has gone through 5 writers, 2 directors, and 1 shut down 6 weeks before production. One person familiar with the script says that the story at one point morphed into a narrative led by women and filled with life lessons. Blade was relegated to the 4th lead in his own movie. In a movie called Blade, he's the 4th main character, which was a bizarre idea considering that the studio had Mahershala Ali, who is a 2-time Oscar winner. And there's been reports that Mahershala Ali was ready to exit over script issues. So Feige went back to the drawing board and hired Michael Green, who wrote Logan, which was nominated for an Oscar for its script. And now, so the new speculation is that the studio is looking to make the film for less than $100 million. So changing it up, going for a lower budget movie, slated for 2025. Do you guys have any hope in this movie? You have Mahershala Ali on board. Kevin Feige is probably a little bit more involved now. The writer of Logan. How do we and low budget? What do we feel about that?
It's just puzzling. You allocate $275 million to the Marvels and $100 million to Blade. For me, Blade is one of the stronger properties that they have that they can utilize.
Yeah.
The Marvels is nothing. It is a non-property, really, for them. And then they it really does depend on whether or not they have a specific group of people creating Blade, and they're going to produce it on this $100 million budget for a reason, i.e. it's going to be a lot more grounded. But I don't see any evidence of that.
Yeah.
I feel like Blade, for Marvel, would be the perfect opportunity for them to move into that R-rated territory.
Perfect.
That would be the perfect first film.
Yeah.
But I don't see that happening. I just see too much confusion behind the scenes. And I know I said before, Marvel has always had problems behind the scenes that we've heard of.
Yeah.
But in this particular situation, it's bad.
Yeah.
It is bad.
It is bad.
The fact that he was the fourth lead in his own film goes to show how horrendous it is.
How does the script get to that?
I don't know. That's no wonder why Ali wanted to leave.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, fuck this. I was supposed to be a main character. Now you're putting me 3, 4 behind.
Wasn't Anthony Starr supposed to be in it as well? And he was supposed to play Dracula?
I think I did hear Anthony Starr was meant to be in it. Yeah. I have no idea where it's going. Yeah.
It's weird. Oh, it sounds like the film is on a path to be better now. You know, just a proper, well-received writer writing the script for it, a more focused with a tight budget, I guess they're going to be focusing on more of less of the supernatural side of Blade, and seems as if we're going to, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but, they're just focusing on the smaller part of Blade.
To carry on from that, making it smaller, I actually think Blade is the kind of character that should not be part of the mainline MCU. I think he's too.
So it would
weird.
be like what DC does with Joker and the Batman, like Elseworlds, where it's those characters, but they're in their own universe.
Essentially what Daredevil and all that sort of stuff are at this time.
Oh, right.
Where they're more, he's more in this MCU spotlight.
Oh, yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
Where he doesn't affect the mainline MCU. I actually think Blade will work better as a series as well.
Yeah.
In that more Daredevil tone, the one that they're doing with Echo.
Yeah.
Which we'll get on to, yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how Blade became a fourth lead. I don't know how scripts can really get to this point. I just hope with a budget less than 100 million, we're going to go to something more grounded, more character driven, and just something where it's not so reliant on visual effects and multiverse madness kind of stuff. But I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen. I can imagine Blade, and then Spider-Man swings in, and then Wong shows up, and Shang-Chi's there, and it's it's a big event team-up movie again.
Yeah.
Every movie has to have like a crossover or something. I think this is a perfect opportunity to get into the R-rated territory. Good time to trial it out, see where it goes, see if it can be a success. And I mean, you can have some kind of MCU Easter eggs thrown into Blade, no problem. But make it really grounded and kind of violent and perhaps even gorish,
If they went R-rated, I could be sold on a Blade movie.
Especially with Mahershala Ali.
With Mahershala Ali. And especially if Anthony Starr was a, vampiric villain. That would be very, very exciting.
Yeah.
But I just don't see them going down that alley. I mean, we have Deadpool coming out, which is supposedly R-rated, right?
I don't know. I've heard mixed things.
Yeah. See,
I feel
I'm
that
so
changes all the
hesitant.
time.
Yeah.
I feel like Disney will buckle like they always do, and they
100.
won't make it R-rated.
Oh, yeah, Deadpool 3 is meant to be a huge event movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think they'll go with the R rating for
No,
that.
no.
Even though, Logan and Deadpool have had both R ratings to it.
Yeah.
I think this is the perfect time, based on all this information we got, for Marvel to take more risks.
Yeah.
I mean, the MCU is backed on taking risks. With risks with different properties like Ant-Man working and all that kind of stuff, and a cinematic universe, that was a risk at the start.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, stuff like hiring Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man turns out to be one of the greatest casting decisions of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Was a risk at the time, though. So maybe it's the perfect time to take risks. And then you might get an audience coming to an R-rated movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I reckon it's worth the risk. And I think, yeah, like you said, Kyan, Blade is the perfect one to really dive into that. I don't really care if Deadpool is R-rated or PG-13 or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't, but all it really does is spell whether or not they intend to commit to certain things. Intend to commit to R ratings.
Yeah.
That's all it spells.
And perhaps the most bizarre news of this entire MCU breakdown is that sources say that there have been talks to bring back the original gang for an Avengers movie. This would include reviving Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man and Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, both killed off in Endgame. And let's remember that in comic books, beloved characters are often killed off and resurrected all the time. The studio hasn't yet committed to this idea, and if it were to commit to that idea, they'd have to bring the actors back, which wouldn't come cheap. So the fact that they're even considering or discussing this, or even the ideas in the room,
Yeah.
they've hit the panic mode button now. What do you guys think of this idea?
Yep, you said it. They're panicking. If this actually becomes true, then that $250 million budget for She-Hulk is going to be like triple that, because Scarlett Johansson, ever since leaving the MCU, is a bigger name. Robert Downey Jr. is a fucking massive name. Chris Evans and Hemsworth is now a bigger name because of the MCU, so they'll be asking for a hefty chunk, especially after seeing the last two Avengers hit $2 billion. They'd be like, oh, your film hits this much for an Avengers film. If we're in it, we'll probably get close to $3 billion possibly, so we want, I don't know, $100 million each or something, something like that. So definitely, and it also goes to show that Marvel can't commit to killing characters off, which has been a major criticism for them, that they just can't commit, how they can't commit to the R rating as well. So I think the original Avengers story is done. They had 10 years to tell it, and they told it perfectly. Don't bring them back. Focus on other characters and, make them the original Avengers type, elevate them onto that platform.
Yeah, no, 100%. With Robert Downey Jr., if he wins the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in Oppenheimer, his value to get onto a new MCU movie skyrockets.
And he already had a massive ass asking price as well, wasn't it? Like the first Avengers was like 15 million or something.
I know Iron Man 3 was 25 million. And then I think he got 50 million for Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, combined.
Oh, right.
He could command 100 million for one Avengers movie.
Easily.
Yeah, at that point, which is insane.
Not that he needs it. I mean, he can give me $1 million.
Yeah. You can be Iron Man. Yeah. What about your thoughts, Kyan, on the original Avengers returning?
I mean, it's as you said, it's desperate. It's really if these rumors are true, it is a show of desperate times.
Yeah.
I think it really actually comes down to whether or not the original cast would even say yes. I don't even think it's really about money anymore. A big discussion about money here, but I've seen an interview with Robert Downey Jr. on I think it might have been a snippet from a Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
And he talks about how no, he wouldn't come back for a I don't think he says he wouldn't come back. He said that they wouldn't do it, or it wouldn't make sense for him to come back. And then you have this debacle with Scarlett Johansson and the budgeting and the pay related to Black Widow.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she burnt bridges there. There was...
What happened again?
She felt she was underpaid from Black Widow because they released it on straight to streaming.
Right, yes, yeah.
And she didn't get those streaming profits.
Yeah.
She won in the end and got a shitload of money.
Yeah, I remember this now.
But I don't know if she's burnt bridges there, And then there are other actors, maybe Mark Ruffalo just isn't particularly interested in coming back for it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Chris Hemsworth would and Mark Ruffalo would, but I don't really know about Evans and Downey and Johansson.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they moved on.
Yeah. It would be hard for Robert Downey Jr. to convince himself. If he wins an Oscar, at least from what my thinking, he would see like, okay, this is the next stage of my career, getting into these types of films. I don't need to go back to the MCU.
Yeah.
And he could command a lot of money in, big movies like that. Leo gets a lot of money for all of his roles. He's around like the 15 to 25 million per role he does. Robert Downey Jr. can get into that eventually. So I think if he does win the Oscar, I think it would change it dramatically. But I am 100% convinced Robert Downey Jr. will be in another MCU movie again. And I don't think he'll come in an Avengers movie like this. He'll be in some sort of multiverse cameo, maybe one or two lines, haha, funny, and that's it. That's kind of it. I do think he'll be back. I think Chris Evans will be back, but not as these characters again. The fact that this is an idea it's ludicrous. I don't know how it would work, or you would convince everyone to come back to that. Yeah, as you said, Nan, they're dead. They should remain dead. The characters. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the panic mode for Marvel. So we'll move on now to another MCU thing, and that is the Echo trailer, which does introduce Marvel Spotlight, something we were talking about earlier, which is a new MCU label that will focus on bringing more grounded, character-driven stories to the screen with street-level stakes over larger MCU continuity. So we've seen the trailer, lads. What do we think of it?
What it should have been from the beginning. What all Marvel series should have been from the beginning.
Rated R.
Yeah, because I know that the label for it is TVMA, which is kind of like R rating for a TV series.
It certainly looked that way from the trailer.
One of the shots was literally someone shooting someone in the head, and you actually saw that.
Yeah.
Blood. So it looks like as if we're getting the sort of Netflix sort of side to it with Daredevil. You know how it had that R rating and that sort of fight style seems very similar or same vibes. I know Daredevil's and Kingpin's in it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it looks good. I know that when we first heard about this news, we were like, "Why is this thing exist?" And we're shitting on it. But after seeing that trailer, I'm a little bit more excited now, especially if they fully commit to that R rating. I think it could be something that we haven't seen since Netflix's Daredevil.
Yeah. No, I mean, do you guys see Daredevil in the trailer there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're obviously going to return him to the street in a sense, which I think is a great move. Yeah. No, I think this looks really good, almost shocking. We just talked about Marvel taking risks, and I guess this is a risk in a sense, and it's exactly the path that they should be going down, especially with a character like Echo, who I would imagine does not have much of a stake on the larger MCU kind of timeline. So if you want to showcase this character, cool, I'm happy, I'm open to it. But yeah, we don't need to make it some kind of massive crossover event thing. Just keep it at the ground level, keep it character driven. It looks perfect like that. I think the trailer, it looks shot really well, surprisingly. Darker, the color grading there is a lot more darker than a lot of the MCU stuff that we get, and I'm kind of excited to see MCU go into a more darker area. We've always been like wanting this for a long time, and I guess they're going to do it. They're going to go for it. I think taking that risk in movies as well is something that they should be doing. So we'll see kind of the reception that Echo gets. I don't. The trailer looked good. I don't know if it will be good. I'm not ready to just be like, oh yeah, certified, gonna be good kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean we've seen that stuff with Punisher before, where it was sort of like looked good, but for the most part was actually kind of boring up until like those final episodes.
Yeah.
Could fall into that trap of just being like very brutal and cool, but like kind of like pretty boring narrative.
Yeah, and the thing I like about MCU Spotlight is that I don't have to watch it. Knowing that it has the MCU Spotlight label on it, I'm like, okay, if I have the time, sure, I'll watch it. But if I don't care about the character, if I'm not interested in it, or I'm just too busy in life, which a lot of people are, they don't have to feel pressured to watch it. And I think when you had the MCU label and all this other stuff, like, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, WandaVision, all these random series. And, you would have a little bit of anxiety of just not being able to keep up because you're not following it and you've invested all these years into the MCU. So having that spotlight thing just allows people to just be a little bit more relaxed if they don't get around to it in time.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
And all the episodes drop at once as well, which is different.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Yes, they do. Yeah. That will be.
Or make binge watching it a lot easier because you don't have to wait week by week. You can just.
So why do they drop all at once?
I don't know. I don't work for Marvel. No idea.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Do you like that model?
I prefer that model rather, depending on the show. If it's something like Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad or stuff like that, it should be week to week because each episode is so heavy that you need to think about and sit on it. But MCU stuff, maybe apart from Loki, should be dropped all at once. Like Hawkeye, just.
I think it might be good as well because we get movies of Marvel and there's a lot of MCU stuff always coming out. So if they just drop it all at once, you kind of get that 1 week of excitement and watching, and then you kind of forget about MCU. You move on to other properties.
Yeah.
So it allows more spaces between MCU projects. It might actually be the better model to work with.
I think so as well.
I preferably don't like it because if say the whole season comes out, I'm usually busy on a day-to-day basis. I don't have time to just sit down on my bed and watch 8 episodes in a row.
Yeah.
And then I would go on to like Twitter and it was a spoiler for the final episode. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then so binging allows spoilers to come because I can't watch it at my own pace. I feel pressured to watch it instantly or get spoiled. I don't have either option.
The only good thing to come from like seeing a spoiler is that like you have really bad like retention and you forget. Like I find that it's like the most like I saw a spoiler the other day. I can't remember what it was for. And I was like really annoyed. I don't know. I was really annoyed by seeing it. I was like, no. And really? I've completely forgotten what it was.
You're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very ideal case to be in. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I'm excited for Echo now, at least. It's one I'll actually be watching because I want to see how this kind of
I actually will watch it.
Yeah.
Is that your first MCU property you'll be watching? And like since Endgame?
That'll like actively go out to watch, yeah. Yeah. And let's be honest, it's like it doesn't really feel like an MCU property, and that's probably why I'll go out of my way to watch it.
You haven't even seen Guardians 3 yet, eh?
I have not, no.
You need to watch that, man.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Have you watched Loki?
No.
Yeah, that's a good one. Watch that too. Yeah. All right. We'll move on now to the final thing, which is just a quick fire round of questions. So I just got some questions here. Thought we'd end it on a fun little note today. So yeah, I'm just going to ask questions and just kind of give me a brief take. So, who is the brighter future, DC, Marvel, or Star Wars? Nayan.
DC.
DC? Why is that?
Because they are starting completely fresh with a well-established director. He seems like someone that would learn from the DCU's mistakes. I think DC definitely has a better shot of becoming better just because they're starting completely fresh. They're scrapping everything, with Marvel. We just discussed for like solid 40 minutes the issues with them, and Star Wars is Star Wars. It's always up and down with Star Wars. So DC.
Right.
Who? I suppose I have to ask a question of that question. What do you mean by greater future?
Brighter future.
Brighter future. What does that mean?
Well, just who's going to be in the best shape?
Marvel.
Marvel
will be in the best shape. I see that while not liking Marvel. But they have X-Men under their belt, and I actually do think that will produce good box office results.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of its own self-contained thing.
Yeah.
It's characters people know, and I think it's characters people might actually crave seeing.
Yeah.
At least new renditions of, if they do it right.
Yeah.
I think that Star Wars is a bit too split up for people to, and it's just has problems all over the place.
Yeah.
But the potential in other areas.
Yeah.
DC potential. But again, I think people that superhero fatigue is set in quite a lot. And the reason I say Marvel, I don't really view X-Men particularly as superheroes, I guess.
Right.
To me, they're kind of like they've never really felt like them.
There's more to them.
It's just not the formula.
Mutants.
They're mutants. They're outcasts. That's the point.
MCU might make them more superhero-y.
They might.
Yeah.
They might.
Yeah.
But again, I still think MCU has a brighter box office future than the other two.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. It was a toss-up between Marvel and Star Wars for me. I think Star Wars is learning, and they're adapting to what fans want, and I think they're kind of bringing it together. So I'm going to say Marvel, but I like Star Wars' future plans and movies.
So do I.
The one in the future with Rey training the biblical version of the first Jedi, and then the kind of Disney Plus verse coming together. And for one movie, I really like that idea. And then, but I am going to say Marvel. They just have the foundation. They have a proven track record, and they're like, sure, we're giving them hell right now on this podcast, and everyone else is too. But like, they have a track record. They've done it before, and I think they can easily fix their mistakes once they adjust and they learn. I think they do. DC, I don't know about James Gunn. I know he's a good director. I don't know if he's a good producer. I don't know if he's Feige or at the level of Feige. Potential for greatness, absolutely, but not something where where it's a guaranteed success for me. Yeah. All right. Next question. Avengers, Kang Dynasty, and Secret Wars will live up to Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. True or false?
Not even a shred of chance.
There's no way. I mean, those two Avengers films have, what, 6-ish years to be built towards? Being built towards very shitly, might I add. Whereas Infinity War and Endgame spent 10 years, and it was just built perfectly. You know, all the main characters had their own movies, almost a trilogy for each character. Yeah. They came together twice in previous team-up movies, and then they had this big threat who was introduced in the very first Avengers movie and was also touched upon and talked about throughout different stages of the movies within that saga. With this, the only time we hear of Kang is in Loki or Quantumania. And that's it.
A counter to that, Thanos was only in Avengers 1 and 2. So in a way, we've got a more Kang than we've had Thanos prior to his movie.
And Guardians.
Well, yeah, and Guardians. Yeah. But we've still had more screen time of Kang than we have with Thanos before him being in an Avengers movie. And I think by the time Avengers, Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars will come, there'll probably have been more movies and more series. So a lot more content prior to those Avengers movies.
But I would argue that it's not Kang. It's not one continuous character of Kang.
Because it's like all these Kangs?
It's all these versions.
Yeah.
So you're not really getting this one continuous kind of Kang person. They all have such wildly different characters.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess it's like, and I agree with you guys, it can't live up to it clearly because the build up is just not there. And I don't think you can salvage that in this span of time. But I mean, like, the build up to Kang can be quite good as we get these all different. We kind of learn all these dimensions of Kang until we get to like the good one or the strong one or whatever. But yeah, no chance there.
No chance.
Yeah. All right. Besides the short film and documentary based Oscar categories, if you could eliminate one category from Oscars, what one would you eliminate?
It's a hard one.
Animated short.
I said no short films.
Ah,
You try to get me there. I knew you guys would go for like live action short or documentary short or something like that.
It kind of really depends what it means, because like removing a certain category, like if it could mean something else would happen, then
No, it's just gone.
Yeah, but I mean, like, say like removing best animated film.
Yeah.
Right. Removing that would result in animated films being taken seriously on the main picture line.
Well, I mean,
or removing best foreign film.
We've had animated movies in that. Yeah, you could remove best foreign film. But then it kind of takes away from animated and international features getting the spotlight. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Maybe best picture. Because
Ooh.
I don't really know what Best Picture even means.
That means most popular film.
Exactly.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe Best Picture because I don't really know if it's a reflection of quality at the end of the day.
Best
And maybe it's
Oscar
usually a
campaign.
reflection of, what a whole bunch of people thought what movie was the best, and that's not always true.
Mm.
It's like Saving Private Ryan not winning Best Picture on in that year and losing over what Shakespeare in Love.
Mm.
No one talks about Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah.
It did not stand the test of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of interpretations to what Best Picture means.
Yeah.
Cultural relevance, popularity, box office even goes into it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it just best quality or whatever that specific Academy member voted for or thought was the best?
Yeah.
And is it just a collective thing of that?
I was gonna say original song.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because you can just chuck that in the Grammys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's true. I like that. And a lot of the original song is just the credit song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the song should
it ends up being a popularity contest, like whatever hit.
Let It Go or something like that. Yeah.
Chuck that in the Grammys.
I would remove Best Film Editing because it lost all integrity when Bohemian Rhapsody won.
That's a fair answer. Yeah.
All right. Star Wars is better suited for television series over movies. True or false?
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
I would say true. I think the quality of products we've had from films based on TV series has been generally better, just storytelling wise, and the visual effects as well is pretty much on par with what we see on the big screen as well. You got Mandalorian, Andor, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan to some degree,
Yeah.
Obi-Wan wasn't shit. It was just a bit of a disappointment.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. You're just thinking of the final episode, man. Or that final fight.
Pretty much. But, I think the quality of the TV series is way better. I'm also going to include Clone Wars because you didn't specify. It's a fantastic series.
Yeah.
You got all the animated stuff as well. I think what the quality you get in the TV series is better than the film.
Interesting.
I'm going to say false, but false with an asterisk. I'm not saying that all Star Wars stuff should be movies. I'm saying that some Star Wars stuff should remain as movies.
Like Skywalker Saga stuff.
Yeah. Very, very like mainline epics that you want to tell because, there is a certain level of scale that can only be said through the big screen.
Yep.
As opposed to the silver screen.
Yeah.
I think that Star Wars as a franchise does work better in a TV series format. I couldn't say that about superhero stuff.
Yeah.
But I think in certain epic storytelling ways, where you want to tell this big sort of moral dilemma story, it is probably better to do it through a film trilogy.
Right. Yeah. I would say true. They're better suited for television series. And I'm only saying that because, Star Wars is in sci-fi, but it doesn't really have the imagery of, grand sci-fi that needs to be on the big screen. I would say it just as visual effects for the big screen. It's not like, Dune or Blade Runner 2049 where it's like, oh, I need to see this on the big screen kind of thing. Because, it's just the VFX that are, by and large, the imagery and, the shot composition, all that stuff, it's not really like jaw-dropping cinematography. We never talk about Star Wars as cinematography in terms of the newer stuff I'm talking about. So it's not like I need to see that stuff on the big screen for it to have any kind of impact visually. I mean, it definitely serves it better, but I think in terms of you combine what I just said there along with storytelling, I think it's just better formatted for longer storytelling where it can tell it over a series rather than just a movie. And if we're going to be honest, there's, in terms of the 9 Star Wars movies, more of them are bad than good. So it kind of gives me a taste that I don't.
In terms of the 9 Star Wars, more are bad than good.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3 is not good. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
it's hype.
true.
It's hype, but it's not good. And then Star Wars, Last Jedi. I don't think that's good. what's someone? Rise of Skywalker,
Mhm.
definitely not good.
Definitely not good.
Solo, not that good. Rogue One, not that good. You're saying that 4 is replicable and average, and it's, or not average, but like 4 is overhyped, and I believe that as well in a sense.
Yeah.
Even 6, people have quarrels with 6. 7 is a copycat of 4. Like, I just don't know if movies can work with Star Wars.
I think it's not just the visuals of Star Wars that is to be like is at that epic scale. To me, it's more so those themes. Like it's the imagery of dark and light clashing.
Yeah.
I think that it's that imagery and those storytelling moments that are really nice on the big screen.
Yeah.
Seeing a X-wing blast through, like a canyon. That's very powerful. Seeing it in cinemas.
Yeah.
Less so. I mean, there are those scenes in Andor with that those Imperial I can't remember the name of the Imperial steps, but the ones that scream when they go through that canyon.
TIE fighters.
The TIE fighters,
Oh,
yeah. And it sounds like blaring. It's terrifying. It almost sounds like a monster.
Yeah.
Which shows that you can sort of do it on the silver screen.
Yeah, that's kind of
effectively.
That's what Disney Plus things are showing to me. It's like I see the visuals in there. I'm like, oh, this looks good. Like, I like it. Yeah. So I think I can get away with it, but I like the mix of both. I just want better movies, I guess. All right. What is the best streaming service in terms of what offers the best content? I'm not talking about user interface or subscription fees or whatever.
Wow.
Probably HBO.
HBO Max.
Yeah. Max. You got Game of Thrones on there. Not Breaking Bad. The Walking Dead, is that HBO?
No, that's AMC.
That's with Breaking Bad.
The Last of Us, that's HBO.
Yep.
Yeah.
House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon, yes. Pretty sure there was another big one. Anyway, you got that, and then plus the movies side as well.
Warner Brothers division.
Warner Brothers as well. So, yeah.
I mean, Amazon Prime, GMV.
I was thinking of that.
Yeah, The Boys, Invincible.
Mm-hmm.
But the movies,
Rings
not
of
that
Power.
good. Yeah. We can't. Oh, Disney Plus. They got their stuff. And then Netflix. Can't deny Netflix, aside from their other original programming.
Netflix is actually a very strong contender just because of the variety of content that they have. So you actually have this very nice variety as opposed to something like Disney Plus, which is like, they're very franchise specific. And if you don't enjoy any of those franchises, you're basically shit out of luck.
You're out, yeah.
Yeah, though that will change, which I'm surprised you didn't mention this week as part of the news, that Disney is completely absorbing Hulu as part of their mainline stuff. So you'll have more variety there in Disney.
Yeah.
But I think it would probably come down between maybe Netflix and possibly Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a tough one though, eh?
It is a very tough one because they all really have different kinds of content.
Yeah, I would probably I'd go Max, I think, yeah.
To be fair, we don't get Max in New Zealand. We get Neon, which is less than adequate in terms of its streaming quality.
Yeah, it's not like great.
It's quite bad.
Yeah. But in terms of what the content's offered, I would think I would align more with Max personally. Yeah. Netflix is great though. Always has stuff that I can watch and tune into. Yeah. All right. Best Avengers movie.
Infinity War.
Really? Not Age of Ultron?
Yeah, Infinity War.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll go Infinity War as well. Not Endgame. All right. On average, watching a film at a cinema is better than watching a film at home. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Depends on the film, but for the most part, agree.
Yeah. That's why I said on average, because there's some movies you want to see in the cinema and some you just want to watch in the comfort of your own home. So the average and
on average, it's a more like immersive experience. Yeah.
Agreed. All right. Which of these had the most potential and missed it? The Star Wars prequel trilogy, the DCEU, or the Hobbit trilogy?
Wow. Oh. I'm going to say Oh,
DC. You have so many iconic characters that just went to waste. And Batman vs Superman, that was horrendous. Where that was a guaranteed $1 billion plus movie.
It didn't do it.
Didn't do it. So DC.
Yeah.
you know, I think if you'd said the Star Wars sequel trilogy, I probably would have picked that.
Mm.
But the prequel trilogy, I think, is the third one is serviceable enough for it to get away with me not entirely despising it.
Right.
The first two are pretty bad, but like,
yeah.
I feel much more strongly about the sequel trilogy than the prequel trilogy. Because the sequel trilogy is like, it really is full of potential. It's full of very ripe and great potential, but it's squandered pretty much all of it.
Yeah.
But so in this instance, I would pit the DC EU because, again, as Nayan says, powerful, very strong characters that in some respects were given a little bit of justice here and there, but in other respects, like in terms of like the whole build up, it was just thrown out and rushed. Yeah. It was just a mess.
That's a nightmare. Yeah. Alongside all the controversies and like all the production issues and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would go the DCU as well. I did the prequel trilogy just because I thought that the sequel trilogy was more of a forced thing from Disney. They acquired Lucasfilm, like, oh yeah, we're obviously going to do a sequel, so it didn't feel like natural storytelling. Well,
true, but it still doesn't change the fact that it had potential.
It did have potential,
and what they were working with actually, like, I may be one of the few people that think Daisy Ridley was fantastic as Rey.
I liked it,
and I actually think that pretty much most of the casting was perfect. It was really just those story decisions that faltered. And that's the most painful thing is when you see, it's not when you see something that completely shits the bed in every aspect, you just go, well, that's just bad.
Yeah.
You know, start over.
Yeah.
But when you see potential, it's really hard to watch potential just get squandered.
Yeah.
The potential of Snoke and just bring back Palpatine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just throw it out the door. Yeah.
I was going to do the sequel trilogy, but I didn't want to do two Star Wars things in the same thing. You guys are Lord of the Rings fans. What? No Hobbit? Come on.
No.
But yes,
I
know you hate the Hobbit.
I don't hate it.
Oh.
I just think it's
the GoPro footage.
Yeah, the GoPro footage seems bad. I mean, it's close enough to the books. It's way too long.
Yeah.
It really should have just been 2 movies. And I think it's fine, especially if you watch like a fan edit version, which like really crunches it.
Oh, really?
And like fixes a lot of its continuity stuff and like keeps it really like smooth. It's actually kind of enjoyable.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't feel particularly strongly about The Hobbit. Again, it probably is that same feeling to the prequel trilogy where I think it's serviceable enough that it doesn't boil my blood.
Right. Yeah. All right. Last question, lads. Which new category would you want at the Oscars? Best stunt, best voice actor, best acting ensemble, or best cast director, which would mean best casting?
I would say best acting ensemble because I think that really is best casting director.
They kind of
interlinked,
hand in hand.
Yeah.
Well, one is the performance of the cast, and one is the selection of the cast. That would be the difference.
Then maybe best casting director, because it's really about that selection of the cast. But I don't know. No, you know what? Best casting ensemble, best acting ensemble.
Oh yeah.
Because I think it gives an opportunity for smaller films to be able to take that win over someone who's just using overwhelming money to take it.
Right.
Because best casting, you could just be like, yep, what won? Oh, Killers of the Flower Moon. Because they had more money.
Yeah.
And everyone respects Scorsese.
Yeah.
So all the best actors win it.
Yeah.
Or Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
He exerts so much power over acting influence.
Right. Yeah.
So I would pick that ensemble one because you could have a smaller movie which
Yeah.
just had great characters all around, just like really great cast all around. They
Yeah.
jumped into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Voice acting.
best voice acting.
Because there's been so many good, I'll just use animated, but animated voice actors that don't really get that much recognition. Oscar wise,
Yeah.
Robin Williams as Genie,
Mm-hmm.
Woody and Buzz, just name
Would win
three
it.
big ones.
Mm.
Even Mufasa, James Earl Jones,
Yeah.
voice acting.
I feel like that would open easy Oscar wins for certain actors, which is like, I'm going to join this movie and just do a good voice performance. I feel like it might be a bit too easy for some people to win it.
I think it's also quite the problem with an Oscar in the movie category is that with movies, not actual voice actors, people who aren't actual voice actors dominate that industry.
Yeah.
Like, so real voice actors aren't getting proper recognition.
Yeah.
They're getting very poor recognition actually because, like The Rock comes in and then just takes the role. And great, he's won an Oscar for best voice acting for Moana. And it's like that's so unfair.
Yeah.
And then that's not even talking about like the advent of how AI will disrupt voice acting in the future.
Well, we'll see with the new deal.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can stop that. I don't want AI voicing animated movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I would choose, I would probably go best cast director. I think casting selection is huge. You watch certain roles and there's like, you just can't imagine another actor playing that kind of character. That comes down to the casting director and choosing that actor to portray that character in the movie. And I think it plays such a crucial role in us enjoying a film and the film being as great as it is. And I think it's just something that's not really, it doesn't get recognized enough. A lot of these categories are things that don't get enough recognition, I guess, outside of acting ensemble. So that's what I try to target there. But yeah, I think cast director. But I wouldn't mind any of these that are really being a new category in the Oscars. Yeah. All right. Well, that is going to do it from us today on our Let's Be Real episode. So hope you enjoyed today's discussion. Thank you guys for tuning into this one. Your support and engagement means a lot to us. If you liked what you heard, follow us on your favorite podcast platform and consider giving us a rating. Stay connected with us on X and YouTube as well. Did you guys agree with everything that we discussed today? Do you think Marvel is struggling, hitting the panic mode? If so, whatever it is, whatever you thought, head on over to @MovieGainz and share your perspective with us. Tune into MovieGainz.com when we drop our latest content. From there, you can sign into our weekly email newsletter to never miss a beat. Thanks again for joining us. We'll catch you next time. Keep bringing the hype. Peace.
See ya.
Bye-bye.